Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Head to factormeals.com/wellred50 and use the code WellRED50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code WellRED50 at factormeals.com/wellred50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. All right, what's up, Drew? Here we are. No Cho. Where is Cho? Who knows? Anybody know?
Who knows Cho?
Yep, Cho knows. He's much like Bo in that way, except Cho don't know. He often don't know. Cho don't
We
know.
sound like Eminem on Lose Yourself. Nose dove in the cold water. Come back, his hose is all on him.
Yeah, that's
Cho
how he always did it.
Cho knows it.
Yeah, he used to he'd write out lines in a notebook and line up the syllables with each other and make as many of the syllables as possible rhyme with each, which is kind of the secret to his whole thing. Well, maybe not his whole thing. He had a lot of things going on, but that's part of the reason why he was so wild and rad, Mr.
Big
Eminem.
part of his genius, yeah. I do think he's a type of genius for sure. He also he used to write in iambic pentameter just for fun. Just to see if he could.
Yeah, it's wild how he's such a trash icon, but also a brilliant artistic genius. Those types of people hit for me. You run into them sometimes.
Well, I think you have to be some type of genius to hit on his level, or you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
If you're doing it yourself, I guess I can think of some people who have an amazing voice and then a different type of genius writes all their music or something. But with him,
yeah,
he was doing it all.
But anyway, y'all. So Cho is not with us this week. We don't know why he didn't offer up that information. He was I guess he decided to be cagey or just felt like we didn't need to know, which that's fine. He didn't think you need to know either as an audience, but you take that out on him. But yeah, I know he was sick this past weekend, but I also know I think he's recovered now. And he just, we said what time we were going to do this, and we had a guest coming on. And he's like, "Y'all got it. I'm out." We're like, all right, well, that'll be that. But we do have we have a replacement for the show. We have a lovely, wonderful, very funny guest. It's a young comic named Alec Flynn, who I had not met in person, but I was aware of, and very funny, awesome, hilarious, young broy man. He's a good type of bro.
Yeah, he's a hilarious bro too. Alec and I met at the Comedy Store. It was a little competition mic where if you win, you can get to do a set in front of the booker. We tied that night. It was I felt because it was comics who decide, and I feel like the comic just didn't want to. It's y'all both are great, just both of you do it or whatever. But I had also known of him from his Don't Tell set, and we get into that a little bit. But he's just a young, hilarious guy. He's got some shows coming up in the South that I'm sure he'll tell us about. And yeah, man, it's been a while, I think, since we've had on a comic.
Mm-hmm.
I think Zimmerman was the last one. But
not DVK, Dan Van Kirk.
That's right, it was David Kirk. Well, but with Zimmerman and DV, those are our buddies. And Alec is my buddy, but you've never met him.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are going to enjoy this conversation partially because it's nice to have us catch up with old friends, but it's also nice to get a little. Alec's 27. You know what I mean? I got nothing in common with this guy other than comedy, and hopefully we're both good dudes. And anyway, it's a fun time talking to a 27-year-old about the world.
Yes, it is a fun time. And also, you just reminded me. I told him when he was on I would do this, and I forgot. Guys, don't forget. Go and check out Rose Gold, Daniel Van Kirk's special on YouTube. It is now out. He wanted to come on around the time it was coming out, but I'm an idiot, so I had him on a month early. But it's now out, and it's very funny. So go check it out. And he didn't deserve that, and that's my fault. But anyway, enjoy that, and also enjoy this lovely and warm and funny conversation with the hilarious young comic Alec Flynn. Here we go.
Well, here we are. Welcome to the WellRED podcast. We are short a Cho today. Corey is otherwise busy, but we've got Trae and myself here, and we are joined by the illustrious, hilarious Alec Flynn, Big Al Flynn. What's up, buddy?
What's up, legends? How are we?
Yeah, stand-up comic, actor, girls field hockey coach at the Comedy Store. I did a show with Alec. It was half improv, and I made him take his shirt off. Was not planning to do it, but the other side, they tried to say they were hotter than us, and I was in a full suit and am 39 and disgusting, and you were in a thin shirt and are hot. So I called their bluff.
And you go, we cancel each other out.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
How are you, man?
Yeah.
I'm good, dude. I'm buzzing right now. I'm like in the office area of my my rock climbing gym job.
Rock climbing gym job. That sounds
man.
cool.
I still work part-time in a rock climbing
You're
gym.
you're like a rad dude then. You're pretty tubular.
I mean, people have called me pretty out there, dude. I mean, a guy like me, city like this, love a good granola and some Faye. I'll get after it.
Faye, that's a yogurt.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, it looks like
I thought that's when you wanted a record, an official record.
I want an official record, but no, I mean, I don't even know why I still have this job. Like, I really don't know what I'm doing here. It's mostly just because it's fun. Like, I just get to sit at a front desk and then like discipline other people's children.
Okay. Yes. I was gonna ask if you're you are an instructor or something in rock climbing, or what do you like? What are your duties there?
My duties are mostly just, I mean, it's kind of like working at a hipster bowling alley. Like, I spray down a lot of shoes. Like, I help people, like I show people where to tape their fingers up. Like, I don't know. It's nothing too crazy, but I also have, I'll do instructional sometimes where I'll show people how to like use the ropes and get them on the ropes. Dude, people roll in all the time, like dudes just with like women that have also never rock climbed. And I'm like, hey, did you rock climb before? And he goes, yeah, when I was a kid. I'm like, oh, so no.
Right.
Like, not at all.
Yeah. But it's
try and like big dog you. And I go, dude, you're gonna like end up splatting this girl you just met on Hinge. Like, what are you doing?
So you're from Colorado, is that right?
No, I'm from Boston originally, but I lived in Denver for like 5 years.
Lived in Denver. Okay. Okay. Because I was like, yeah, he's from Colorado. They just all have to know how to climb rocks, in Colorado or whatever. It just seemed to make sense. But did you pick that up in Colorado when you were living there, or were you somehow climbing rocks in Boston?
No, for sure not climbing rocks in Boston. People really don't have hobbies outside of drinking in dark places in Massachusetts. So, in Colorado, I got fired from my job, and then I was working out at a rock climbing gym, and I was like, and I thought, this could be a good place to work. Next thing you know, they gave me a Eddie Bauer quarter zip, and I'm out there just showing people how to crimp.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't even know what that means outside of hair. I know there's a hair thing you can do with crimping.
Yeah. It's when you take your fingers kind of like Planet of the Apes style and just really like dig in there like that.
Okay.
And I mean, trust me, dude, we got kids that are they have the body type of a praying mantis, and they can just get up on those walls like you've never seen before.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty wild, YouTube videos and stuff of people doing climby things. It's neat. But so Boston, what's like? Is there something in the water? Like, do you think Boston people are just generally funnier naturally, or so? Because Boston's got a massive legacy of comedy and comedians, and also comedy. Right, when you include like the Harvard part, as far as in the comedy writing world, coupled with all the comics and stuff, and it's two very different types of people, but both from that general area. What do you think that's about, being from there?
Yeah, man, everybody's just really funny. I think there's a weird like dynamic with Boston people where everybody knows each other. Like it's a big city it's not really even a big city. It's like a large town. So I think in terms of like shitting on each other, I think it's a constant like get it off me whenever you're around family or whenever you're around friends. So you have to be quick like that.
Right.
Like you got to be looking at like if someone shits on you, you're like, oh yeah, pal, you look like you just washed like fucking combed your hair with a butterfinger. Get out of my face. Like just random shit where you got to be ready to just attack at any moment, because we're all very Catholic guilt laden, and then we're also just very angry that we live there and that we don't really get to see the sun unless for 3 days out, like 3 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of has something to do with it. But also, I mean, like, I don't know, the comedy scene when I was like kind of coming up, I would say like I was just in college, but really didn't even exist. Like it was just all the really heavy hitters, like the Lenny Clarks and like Tony V's, all these big dudes that just never left.
Right.
So, and they were all doing all the shows. So, I mean, it's tough for a young man to break into the Italian dining hall scene.
Right.
Believe it or not, even though I really want to shout out to the Boston Guido. I know he's a listener. I will do your show when I'm back in Boston.
So yeah, I've always heard that those old heads you were talking about, that they've just been in and around the Boston area for, I mean, decades now, like since the 80s or whatever, and they like can work almost full time just around like Massachusetts or just around that like area up there. Going like that's so wild to me.
It's wild. And I mean, they don't really change up their act. I mean, it's mostly just, I mean, they'll kill for 45 minutes talking about the traffic to Cape Cod.
Right.
And, kudos to them, but it's, I don't know. Then they get all like the TV spots for like, Bach Toyota or something. And they'll be like, whoa, it's like, dude, this car's wicked fast or some dumb shit, dude. It's really like, that's why when they did all those Boston sketches on SNL, I did not like it one bit. I kind of just despise when people, use my culture, as I imagine you guys feel in the South.
Yeah.
My culture is not a costume. Okay.
Well, when they were doing all those sketches, I tweeted something like, or actually there was a Super Bowl ad that was basically the same thing. I don't know if you remember that. It was a Super Bowl ad with a bunch of celebrities from Boston, but it was the same principle. It's just very, look at these people being cartoonishly Boston-y and fucking with the accent and everything. And I tweeted something like, I appreciate Boston for, sporadically taking some of the like, God, isn't it like funny and stupid sounding how they talk, heat off of the South. And it's also like, also the racism part, it's like everybody thinks you talk dumb and are racist. And that's the two things the South and Boston have in common. Although I was thinking, you pointed out the Catholic thing. Obviously in the South, it's not Catholicism for the most part, but
no, we're real
Jesus,
Christians.
very, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you grow up Catholic?
No, dude, I didn't grow up Catholic at all. And I want to thank Tom Brady for that on this podcast personally, because when I grew up, the Patriots just started getting good. And around like age 4, your parents decide like, all right, are we going to be a church family or like, what are we doing? And my dad was like, yeah, pal, I see Jesus every Sunday. He wears number 12.
Right. Yeah. Lucky you, buddy. That worked
also, like 2001, 2002, I don't know if you remember the movie Spotlight.
I love that movie. That movie's awesome. I just rewatched that like a couple months ago.
So that kind of came out, and that was a huge bombshell. And I think a lot of young families were like, fuck that, like not dealing with that. Fun thing about Spotlight, the high school in the movie that's across from the newspaper?
Yeah.
I went to that high school.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, and then the movie came out while I was in high school.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That always rules. You go with all your friends.
Dude, I mean, they had a big assembly, and I just remember like our principal getting up there, and like I do a joke about it, but like this is essentially how like it went down. He just was like, I don't know why everyone's mad at us.
Yeah.
Why is everyone? Can we just relax for a second here? We got rid of those guys a while ago, okay, and we sent them to different schools. So I don't know why everyone's pissed.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably a dumbass question, but being from there and having gone to that school and everything, like, I mean, outside of the story coming out, like how much of a part of your actual life was all that? Like, did you know people? Did it come up? Were you like warned?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Like,
for me and for everyone else listening, what's the movie about? Because I just realized it sounds like it's about something gnarly, and I was like, oh, dude, that's awesome.
No, it's about rock climbing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's chill as hell.
Our movie is October Sky, which is about football and rockets. And that was so like it was chill. Me and my friends were like, "Oh shit, that's our town." And
it was actually it was about priests and rock climbing. So if they would chase you up the wall, and that was
trying to rape you. Yes,
Father Pat, get off my pants.
Yeah, Spotlight was is it the Boston Globe? Was that the Boston Globe had an investigative journalism unit, I guess they still do, called Spotlight, the Spotlight division or department or whatever. And in the early 2000s, they broke up in that whole thing about, the Catholic Church and priests molesting and all that. And the movie is about that. But
so you got out of church because of Tom Brady, and you got out of molesting because of the Boston Globe. You were born in such a lucky time period, especially like as cute as a button as you are. Like, you really, really, really lucked out on not getting fucked many ways by God and his people.
Well, see, that's kind of what I'm asking, because as somebody who just watched that movie, like, it's wild how, part of the whole movie is like it drops a few bombs on you about how insanely prevalent this shit is. And so I'm asking, like, having actually grown up there or whatever, did it seem that way? Or was it like, was everybody shocked by that?
I know you're not, but it kind of seems like you're going, so like, did you get touched? Or
Yeah, you can just ask them
I'm
straight up.
asking,
Is that
did you
why you're
know
funny?
people that got touched, or like, I mean, yeah, just
No, I mean, I didn't know any. I mean, you got to remember, it's kind of like the same thing when I talk to people like from Boston and like they have a really thick like Boston accent. I mean, dude, I'm 27. Like, if you got a thick Boston accent and you're my age, it's like you just grew up like in the city, or you like work at a union. Like, you are real deal. Like, I feel like I knew a lot of people that were like the real deal, but I mean that spotlight thing kind of blew it up. So if there were anybody, there wasn't anybody my age, let's just say.
Yeah.
But like when it came out, everyone was kind of like, "Oh yeah, that was bad." Like we had like teachers at our school being like, "Yeah, it was not good."
Yeah, well, I mean, shit, good for them. The spotlight people. I mean, then if it like
good movie,
actually
though.
made a difference, the movie rules. I was going to ask you about the accent thing. So I feel like it's also. I mean, I'm from a tiny town in Tennessee, which is what I always chalk my accent up to. But Drew also is, and he doesn't really have one. But like kids in like Nashville or whatever, definitely usually don't have accents. And now I don't even know. Like at this point in time, like I don't even know how thick the accents are in like my hometown because I never go back there. But so you're saying like generationally, it's pretty rare. So the Boston accent is kind of like dying out, sort of.
Yeah, dying out. I just I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the dialect, or I should say, is the nomenclature that we use, like bubbler.
Right.
We say wicked all the time. I mean, I still say wicked, like clicker, like stuff. There's like certain words that I think will always be around, but I just I think the dialect itself is sort of. I mean, everything's kind of being homogenized. I mean, and I hope I'm using that word correctly. I mean, in Boston especially.
That's another difference. Your generation says homo. It's a very different thing.
Homogenized.
Yeah.
I mean, in Boston especially, we just nominated the first woman mayor and first Asian mayor in AAPI month. Shout out. What's up? I just kept saying AAPI one time at the comedy show this past weekend, and nobody liked it. But yeah, it's just the demographics are changing. The city itself. I mean, I just remember all my buddies, right? Graduated college and they moved into apartments in South Boston, which was notorious for being like the most racist place ever. Irish Catholic, uneducated, like hardcore, like whitey bulgers playing grounds. You know what I mean? Bad. Now it is. I mean, they have, what's the word I'm looking for? They've gentrified. Yeah, they've gentrified out all like the working class people. And so you kind of don't really get any of the same culture. But at the same time, I argue, what was the culture of that place? Like Percocets? Like, what are we talking
about? I went to the parade, the Patty's Day parade, twice there. Yeah, my buddy Pete.
Shit show.
I went to BC Law. My buddy Pete at BC Law was also a BC undergrad, and he had an apartment down there. He was like one of the first gentrifiers, and he had one roommate who was a dirtball. But we would go and we would hang out, and I would just remember like seeing multiple fights, like seeing a girl and a guy fuck behind a dumpster, and I definitely remember distinctly sort of like the way my friends who were there with me from, say upstate New York or whatever, reacted to the whole thing, and realizing like, oh, I'm going to pretend like I too am appalled. Like people fucking outdoors was a little crazy to me coming from the South, but the fights, it was like, it's just like, oh, we got to move. Well, it was us, but for me, it was like, oh, we gotta move, guys. These dudes are about to fight, and they were just appalled. But I remember distinctly the first time I went down there with those friends, being like, oh, I gotta pretend like I don't get what's happening here either. I need to act like I'm not from white trash land. But there was a part of me that was like, I mean, you even said it, Percocets. That was like, oh, we're at the county fair right now. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah, you get fired up.
I know exactly. I mean, I know what you mean because I mean there weren't any fights or anything, but like me and my wife just took our sons to the LA County Fair. You just mentioned the county fair, the Los Angeles County Fair, and it's just wild. I was thinking the whole time I was there, like, we were, white families were very much in the minority. It was mostly Hispanic families and also, and some black families, and then a smattering of whites, of which we were, one of the cohorts. But
did they make you link up? Pledge allegiance?
But I felt
it's like prison,
genuinely like kind of comfortable
you have to put
the
in
whole
work.
time, right? Because it's like it's the same type of thing. It's like I feel like county fairs are county fairs anywhere, no matter what. Like it's trash is what I'm trying to dance around saying. Like I'm trash, and there's a lot of trash at a county fair, even in LA, and it's a different color of trash or whatever. But it's still the same general vibe, and it just it's like I recognize, even though this is like
30
sort of an alien.
In t-shirts that like have cuss words on them.
And so many t-shirts. I got told, fuck you or go fuck yourself by so many t-shirts, while standing in line for like a funnel cake or whatever. That type of thing. Shirts with skulls on them and
an arrow pointing to the right and it says the bitch is taken.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That type of shit. Yes.
Did you feel like a need in front of your kids to pretend like?
I just didn't even point it out, and they didn't say anything either.
They didn't ask?
No, they didn't. I mean, they're 12 and 11. If they were like just old enough to read, they probably would have said something, but they're old enough to read it and be like, oh, that's fucking weird. And not like they understand.
Right. But to me, that makes me think they would ask, like, Dad.
I think it's like awkward.
There's like 10 people here with the same, if you could read this, the bitch is taken shirt. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also, at least one of them is pretty oblivious generally. He lives in his own world sort of thing. He may not have even noticed.
You bought your kids fried Oreos while you got screen printed booty shorts that said property of Trae.
Yeah, yes. That visited the airbrush t-shirt booth, which was, big hit, big line.
I just realized too, they summer in trash. Like the way some families summer in the Cape, you send yours back to Trash, Tennessee to get.
Oh, trust me, dude. The Cape can also be trash, man.
I bet.
I mean, dude, you know what the biggest indicator of trash I realized? Like, I had my parents coming through, like to visit LA, and I asked people, I go, "Oh, you got any good like restaurant recs?" And like, man, like people I respected. They just go, "Oh, you got to check this place out. They got a mariachi band and the burritos are huge." And I go, "Oh no." Right. Like, nah, man, I meant like, good food. And he's like, "Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying." Like, yeah,
I just
like that.
My problem with that is my dad would, first of all, he wouldn't come to visit me. The only time he ever came to visit me is when we had a kid. In any city I've lived in, and I've lived in many, but he would want the big burrito.
Right. No, my parents get easily pissed, dude. So like, especially, what was the other one someone said? They said, oh, well then this Italian place, they make the pasta right in the wheel of cheese. And I go, fucking Christ, dude.
Well, hold on. That's bad? Because I'm impressed by that. That's not a good thing. That's like, yeah, really?
Up.
It's a gimmick, because that would take me in instantly.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. They do that at Cracker Barrel.
I literally made a tour promo video yesterday where I said, which is true, that growing up every year on my birthday, we drove an hour each way to eat at a Red Lobster, which might as well have been the French Laundry to me. Like that was like,
Well, yeah, you're a child.
I know, but also a trash child. Yes, right.
Yeah, but that's fine. You can be a trash child.
I know, but I still, I find when you grow, you still have an affinity for trash things. Not all of them. Some have fallen by the wayside, but some trash things I think I'll always love or whatever. But like, I like a genuinely nice like a hip or trendy or legitimately high level restaurant. But I do like that because I'm a fat guy. I like food, but I also have a trash palate. But I feel out of place a lot of times. I don't know. I like them, but I also feel weird being in them and stuff. You know,
people fuck it up. Like the wreck has to be for lunch. Like you can't wreck dinner because like you'll immediately catch the ire of whoever you're giving the wreck to. It's got to be like, you got to hit this rib place for lunch. Like it's got to be kind of outdoor picnic table, low key vibe. I think whenever you wreck dinner, right? Like you really risk coming off as like, because if you fuck up someone's last meal of the day, they'll hold that against you for the rest of their life. But like you can, and especially like lunch places where you can get like a smash burger or something that's easy for the entire crew. Do you know what are you picking up on? Trey's looking at me.
I'm not.
Like,
I'm trying.
Trey is one of the smartest people I know, but whatever this is, he lacks it.
But I thought he was going in a like a different direction than smash burgers is what I'm saying. Like, because smash burgers is like, like you said, it's pretty simple. It's simple.
I thought you would. If you're gonna do trash, you got to do it for lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
okay.
Besides, like people like eating trash for lunch.
Okay.
So like you can give them a good local trash wreck, but like the minute you're telling me that you got to go to this Italian place, they take the lemoncini and they spit it back into your mouth, like that's what I'm out.
So what were you looking for your parents? Where'd you end up going? Was it a hit? Did it work? Where'd you find out about it?
I crushed every fucking restaurant wreck that we had. I murdered it. I don't want to like toot myself. I don't want to, put my finger in my own ass here, but
what'd you end up doing? Share. Okay. I'm curious.
So for lunch, we did Malibu seafood. Nice drive out to Malibu. Dad loves a good fish and chip. We got that. I think for dinner, there was this place called Le Great Outdoors, which was all on a grill, pretty much. Like they grill everything up. It's not a hibachi. It's like, imagine I'm just like Benihana. Have you heard of it?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We only go to the nice places.
Yeah, dude. You go out, but it's like all grilled stuff. It's like salmon, like easy shit. What was for dinner the other night? Last night we did sushi. Like I think sushi's a good one that everybody can get behind.
My parents won't eat it.
They won't eat?
The concept offends them.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
disgusting.
People,
raw fish? What are you talking about?
Dude, it's delicious.
I agree.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, but he's right. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, country ass people like my in-laws definitely wouldn't fuck with sushi, I don't think, and not even just like my wife's parents. I mean, I'm probably, I don't know, maybe not. Probably also like my sisters-in-law, and they're people our age, but that live like back home or whatever. I bet they probably don't fuck with sushi either, but I might be misjudging them.
Let me ask you guys something.
This is the difference between country and city trash. Go ahead and ask the question. That's what that is you're afraid of different things. So our version of trash is terrified of like, Japanese raw fish, 3 words they didn't want to hear.
Right.
Go ahead, Alec. What was your question?
And my question is like, you guys are from like the proper South, antebellum South, I would say.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know.
How do you guys feel about Texas?
It's not the South. It's its own thing, but it's the closest thing to us that, you know what I mean? Like, it might as well be the South. Texas is its own culture.
Yeah. Right. So much of it overlaps with the South, though, that I think it's like, sometimes when I go to Texas and do shows, I kind of rib them for that. Their whole like, no, we're not the South. It's our own thing. It's like, okay, but is it really that much different? Also my what's the word I'm looking for? Protocol or whatever has always been like, I mean, they were literally part of the Confederacy. So they don't get to just be like, no, we ain't that. They also like, fucking cowboy shit, country music. They talk dumb. They are racist, all that shit. It's all very, it's pretty similar in my opinion. Having said, just for the record, having said all that, I love going to Texas. I think it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't know where they get off sometimes.
My Yankee brain is like when I'm in the South, like the proper South, the antebellum South, like your guys, I'm thinking to myself, hey, OG 13 colonies, you know what I'm saying? You've been from the beginning. Granted, we had a little breakup, But like when I'm in Texas, I like generally feel a level of like disrespect towards their people just because I'm like, you guys tried to start your own fucking country. Like, who do you think you are?
Well,
We did
I mean,
that
we
too.
also did that too,
That's
and
literally what we did.
explicitly over slavery as an institution. So
I mean,
not, it's not
but
great.
something about them over there where they still are like, we're gonna do it again. Like,
Well, yeah,
I can't.
yeah. There's
They're
like
talking
a
about doing it a
California
third time.
contingent of secessionists for like a totally other end of the political spectrum, like very different rationale. But there's the way that Texas has, like, there are people in Texas like, fuck it, we should just be our own thing. There's also Californians who feel the same way, but for very different reasons.
Isn't that the premise of that movie?
I don't know, man.
It is.
I get pissed off when people don't appreciate, what Boston did for like we fucking gave this country its freedom, like, and people don't really.
Look, hey, I'm not. I've always said it. I'm not in favor of secession either. Generally
me and
have
the
a
boys
negative
toss
opinion.
that tea in the harbor for the rest of you. So you're welcome.
Yeah, well,
we
appreciate it. Yes, but I think you're like, also when you were talking about, original 13 colonies, Old South, whatever. There is also a gone with the windy type of old, like Charleston, Savannah, and like cities like that are real old Southy. That, like, me and Drew's hometown, I think they're deep South, but not that. They're not that.
Right.
They're
I mean, like South, like you were here. You've been there since the 1700s.
Yes.
That's what I think. Yes.
I think the difference, or whatever that Trae's getting at, we are Trae's on the very edge of, and I'm close to the edge of Appalachia, the bottom of Appalachia. And Appalachia has its own distinct things. And so there's a lot of overlap. There is a lot of overlap. I'm not trying to like get out of taking my talking to about what we did. Or
no one's getting a talking to here. All right. We're going to be talking with each other. It's called dialogue. And I'm trying to make sure it stays open.
When I hear
this
Deep
is my
South,
podcast now. Welcome to
when I hear
NPR's
Deep
The Daily.
South, I definitely think of plantations and Gone with the Wind. And we just didn't have, what did they have? Money. We had, there's almost never been a time, because coal was our big thing and it was owned by people who didn't live here. We didn't even have our own version of rich people for the most part. Obviously, there were a few, but like there wasn't a gentrified class. There wasn't a gentry here. There wasn't a class. They were always somewhere else. This place has always been, sort of ruled by people who ain't from here, kind of thing. And I think that's the big difference. So when I hear Deep South, I'm always like, we're more like Mountain South.
Yeah, it's that time of year, warmer, sunnier days. They're coming. They are. You're going to have to fuel up for them, baby. You're going to have to be outside doing a bunch of fun sun stuff. You need fuel for sun stuff, and you can fuel up with Factor, and they're no prep, no mess meals. You can meet your wellness goals in time for the summer thanks to their menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals this May with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert. Stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. You can treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. You can keep kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes only. No shopping, prepping, cooking, cleaning up, none of that. Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. You can choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein, avoid meat, or simply eat a well-balanced diet. I love Factor meals. I love all of them. They got that was my introduction to cauliflower rice. I was like, cauliflower rice, what is that? Turns out it hits for me just fine. They got this like cheesy pepper chicken situation that's very good, but I haven't had a meal from Factor that didn't hit for me, frankly. They're very good. It's so easy. I have trouble with lunch because I don't have time to rustle. I like to cook, but rustling up lunch, tough for me because I actually kind of have some jam-packed days sometimes, believe it or not. And Factor is perfect for that. 2 minutes, pop it in, get it out, it's done, and it hits, and it's good for you, and it tastes good. So what more do you need to hear? Head to factormeals.com/WellRED50 and use the code WellRED50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code WellRED50 at factormeals.com/WellRED50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Factor, holler at it.
I read this really great book called The Four Seeds of Albion. It was about like the 4 British pathways that people took to different parts of America. And it's like very interesting because they talked about like New England was all settled by people from like East Anglia. And if you go back to like that certain part of England, they still drop their R's the same way that people in like New England and Boston do.
Yeah, the hard R's.
Very much so. And they're like, get them out of here. Dude, they're fucking crazy. They're just as racist as us, man. It's
yeah.
out of control.
The guys who invented it, you don't say.
Right.
Yeah, believe it or not. But yeah, all the people that settled in Appalachia were just like from the Northwest, like the Sheffields, like Scotland, and that's where it all comes from. But it's like very so like they might as well be from like different planets because like people talk differently even in like 4 miles away in England. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it is wild. When I went to the UK for the first time, went to England first, and in England, people, immediately recognize them from the South or whatever, and would ask, where else you going? I would say, mention I was going to Scotland, and so many people said some version of like, I think you'll find a certain kinship with the Scots, which of course, like me, like chip on the shoulder, I was like, why? Because they're fucking unruly dumbasses too. Is that why? Is that why? But
Trae punches one of them. What do you mean by that? Like, I meant that, mate. Fuck.
But also, they were right.
On,
they were right for the record. We got up there, and the Ulster Scots, Irish, that they basically became like hillbillies and so much of the South. I mean, the Confederate flag is literally based on the Scottish flag. We took that and really upped that ante. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of connections there. Also, I didn't know this till I went over there, but I found out that even geologically, this is actually part of the reason why. Geologically speaking, back in the fucking Pangea days when all the continents were roommates, before they each went out to do their own thing. In that time, Scotland, the Scottish Highlands, and the Appalachian Mountains were connected. And geologically, they're all part of the same ancient range of mountains. It's just that the continent split up and went over there. So those people that came from up there in the Highlands and came over here, they ended up settling in Appalachia a lot of times because it was like familiar to them. And when I went there, when I first went to Scotland in the Highlands and shit, I like fell asleep on the train and then woke up as we were in Scotland. And it was so wild to me because it looked exactly like East Tennessee, sort of like topographically and everything. I was like, I could be on a train in East Tennessee right now, except for we don't believe in trains in America. But like this looks like home,
That's
it was wild. Yeah.
That's crazy. Cause you think like, imagine you just like you landed in this brand new land and like something just deep in your plums is telling you, I gotta go to the mountains.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just
and that thing deep in your plums is I know how to survive there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was like they knew how to make that land grow. They knew how to do the sheep and all that stuff.
I got a question for you, but a question for a Yankee Northeasterner.
All right.
What's your
fucking problem?
What type of white person? What type of white person are you? What's your heritage?
I'm Italian Irish, and that's the only real inbreeding they allow.
Right. And is it a big thing in your family? Is that important to you? Do you care about that? There's a lot of like, identity wrapped up in that part of it for you.
No. I mean, the Irish thing is like, it's cool. Like I live with a bunch of dudes from Dublin.
Yeah.
Here in LA. So like, I kind of feel like I'm getting back to my roots, but we've also just been watching a lot of IRA documentaries. So that might be part of it.
Hell yeah.
And let me tell you, they're all terrorists. But the Italian thing is like, it's good. Cause like, I think I lucked out. Cause like my mom's side is like hardcore Italian. And I think I really got an appreciation for like good food and like how to cook. And as opposed to like, if it was reversed, I think I would just get like my father's height and, hairiness and then like anger, as opposed to like, I just have now my father's anger. And then I have like my mom's hair. And then like, I know how to cook. I know how to like do all these great things. I've got like the best of both worlds pretty much, I think. But I don't really like dwell on it because I don't think I just think unless you really are second or first generation.
Right.
That's when it's really deep in there. And I don't think I don't know. It just seems like, especially to be from like the Northeast, where every dude in Boston, my age, is the same height. We are it's either O'Callahan or Squidlagini, and it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, because that I asked because I've always been kind of fascinated by that, like, because that's not really a thing in the South generally.
No.
I'm not saying you won't ever run into it, but for the most part, it's not
We
a thing.
got a different kind of pride.
I was about to say, yeah, I've always thought it's because like Southern supersedes that, like that's the heritage that we're all like super proud of and shit.
Right.
But because it's not a thing, I always thought it was a little weird, you know, like you just said, like every guy in Boston's similar, like, you know, all these dudes in New York's like, yeah, we're Polish, we're Irish, we're Italian, whatever. It's like y'all seem like the same kind of meatball to me as someone who's not from New York, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just also you talk to Europe or, you know, people from Ireland or England or whatever, and I feel like usually they also think that's weird, you know what I mean? Because they're like, you know, no, you're Americans, you know, like they don't. I've always thought it was kind of odd that that's like
I'm
such
more
a thing.
fucking jacked up to be American from New England than anything else. Cause I just think
Right.
like the regional topography of New England, we have the best beaches. We have like Maine. We have it's the best, like, I mean, Boston. I think about that where I'm like, I'm more proud about that heritage, such as maybe you are from being from the South than I am. And I think there's just pockets in Boston. There's this area called the North End, which is, I think it has the most Italian restaurants per square mile than anywhere else in the country. And it's like, that's hardcore Italian. Like you still see people out front with like the, you know, the gold chains, like smoking cigarettes, arguing. And then like you still have Southie. I mean, where I grew up, they called it the Irish Riviera. Like everybody is Irish. And there's still like that pride, I suppose. But, you know, I didn't grow up, you know, go and get me like, oh, we're doing corned beef and cabbage this weekend. I was like, you know, didn't really matter. I think I'm more just stoked on being from New England.
Yeah, the last time I was in Boston doing comedy, I was just like walking around and ended up wandering into the North End. And I don't know what it was because I didn't know what was going on, but they were doing some kind of, maybe this is just every day. Maybe it was just
the festival,
Saturday, but it looked
the Feast of St. Anthony.
It seemed they appeared to be doing some kind of super Italian-y thing because there was a shitload of people over there, all kinds of flags and very, but yeah, something was going on, and I didn't know anything about it or even where I was. But as soon as I walked in, I was like, oh, this is the spaghetti neighborhood. They're doing a lot of spaghetti here right now. But you know, it's cool.
It rules, man. I do admit, like the goal is to like really blow up with this comedy shit and then be able to like move home at like 45. And then just like quit and just
do the dining halls, taking Clark's place.
Really, like I mean, teach history, coach hockey during the week, and then like go on the weekends to like New York City or like Boston and just do like the Comedy Cellar and like do spots. But for the most part, I mean, like I love comedy, but I just feel like I want to go back home and then like that's where I'd want to like raise a family and like do that whole thing. But you know, that's also like in my own fantasy by 60 through a series of shrewd political moves. I've created a Martha's Vineyard as its own, like we've broken away from the union and become like its own sort of thing, sort of like Sealand. I don't know if you've heard of that guy.
Of course. Yeah.
Sealand. You know, this is coming from a place of pure ignorance, but it just seems like what I know about Martha's Vineyard, y'all ain't winning a single goddamn fight, no matter how good of a general you are.
But here's what I'll do. I'll take everybody hostage.
Oh, okay.
Jonestown.
Yeah. You're just taking Martha's Vineyard. That's the geographical location. You have no affinity for the people there.
No, it's more so just about being an island, and I like kind of just a stronghold.
Yeah, earlier I thought you were super anti-secessionist, but now it's just like, no, you know, the rest of this country doesn't deserve the Boston area.
It was pure jealousy.
Yes.
His hatred for secessionists is pure jealousy. That's why he doesn't like Texas. He's like, God damn, they're down here really living.
No, it's not jealousy. I just like, I look around that city and I'm just like, you got 3 Whataburgers on one street. Like, what the, like, you think you can run your own country?
Yeah, it's not. Dude. It's not what it thinks it is.
No, gross. Place is gross.
It's pretty wild. It used to be good back before it thought it was whatever it is. You brought up coaching hockey. I wanted to just tell this quick. I'm going to let you take over whatever the story is. The night I met this kid, we weren't supposed to be talking at all. And we were sitting beside each other at this. It's essentially an open mic contest at the store. And he just starts. I mean, again, I've met him 3 minutes ago. We find out we have friends in common, and then he just starts telling me about his weekend where he's still coaching semi-pro hockey that he used to play. Is that?
Yeah.
and he's still going out on the weekends and doing it. And he had spent a weekend in some ski town,
Jackson Hole.
Oh
just
yeah.
getting ripped and playing adult league hockey, like in a league. Like,
Oh yeah, the Black Diamond Hockey League.
Tell us about it, because it kind of blew my mind that this is going on.
So, give me 1 sec.
Oh,
You know that
5 minutes.
this is a higher level thing, but you know the producer Matt from Skews, he plays like beer league hockey still. Did you know that? He does that and plays in like a old timey banjo.
yeah.
I
was
got
hanging out
5
with producer
minutes.
Matt.
I gotta tell this story, then I gotta go to work.
Okay,
okay.
plug your dates.
Yeah, I'm about to say, tell the
story,
story, then plug your thing, and then we'll let you
All
go.
right, so essentially, it's we're called the Boston Bison. It's me and the rest of the boys. They just kept playing hockey. We've been doing beer leagues, blah blah blah, but like it's all former Division One, not a lot of Division One, mostly former Division 3 and 2 hockey players. And we got all the lads together, and we got jerseys, pants, the whole kit and caboodle. We went out to Jackson Hole, Wyoming to play the Jackson Hole Moose. They are pretty much a semi-professional team of people that live in Jackson Hole, and they play in the Black Diamond Hockey League, which goes against Vail, Breckenridge, Bozeman, Montana, all these other ski towns, Sun Valley, Idaho. And they're the best team. Like, they got a whole locker room set up, and they take any and all challengers. So we got a team together, and we got it. They set us up in a fucking motel. They set us up like all the shit like paid for pretty much. And it was unbelievable. I'm coaching all my boys. I'm wearing the fucking nicest black fucking turtleneck, dude. I mean, I'm on mushrooms. I'm feeling crazy. It was insane. I'm drawing up plays nobody's listening to.
Yeah.
And we get out there, and we lost the first game 5-3. Tough battle out there. But I told them, I said, these boys, they got nothing to lose. Okay. What are they? Firefighters in the town? They don't give a fuck about shit. All right. So they went out there. The second game, we lost in overtime, but that was still unbelievable. Both games, you're looking at 13,000 people in the stands. Both games. No, not 13,000, 1,300. That doesn't fit. That doesn't make any sense. 1,300 people in the stands, both games. And then after each game, we would go to $1 Million Cowboy Bar, close that down, buy 230 racks from the bar, go back to the rink, and then party with the Jackson Hole Moose in their locker room until 3 a.m. And just like the refs were in there too. We're all just like fucking losing our minds. It was one of the most electric weekends of my life.
That's like a Broken Lizard movie or something.
When I met him.
Yeah.
you were living like a pro player, but just in the ski towns.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, we were. I mean, everyone, we'd go into like get breakfast and stuff, and people were like, big game tonight. I'm like, yeah, big game.
Dude, that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and thanks for being here. But plug your shit since you got to go.
Yeah, well, you guys rule. Thanks for having me on. I got to go make sure people don't die on rock climbing walls. But you guys are the best. Drew, come back to LA. We miss you.
I'm not gonna, but thanks.
Yeah, I know, but all right. Trae, great to meet you, dude. My shit. I am going to be in Greenville, South Carolina on May 28th. I'm going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina on May 29th. I might still be in Greensboro, North Carolina on May 30th. Depends on whether or not we sell any tickets and if I just want to go to Atlanta. And then I'm going to be in Providence, Rhode Island in June, Stamford, Connecticut, New York City, and hopefully Block Island too.
How do people find that and find you?
Yeah, check me out on Instagram. It's Big Al Flynn. All right. It's good Instagram. I got a podcast coming out called Let's Grill. It's just going to be me and my friends grilling. It's going to be grill ASMR if anybody wants to listen to that.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Right on. Well,
hey, you guys rule.
Have fun at the rock store, buddy. Nice to meet you, Alex.
Nice to meet you,
Alec.
too.
Thanks, Alex.
Sorry.
Later, lads.
All righty. Well, it was fun.
Total bro.
I love a bro. I've said, I feel like we argued some kind of argued recently about the merits of bros on a podcast. Also, when Corey wasn't there, I think somehow
with Daniel.
No, it was before that. I think it was just me and you, and because I got to talk. We got into the whole discussion about like butt rock, bro rock, and like the 2000s and the broy era and whatever. And you were, none of that hit for you, and it did hit for me.
Well, I was also talking about coming from jock football culture.
Yes.
I think one of the reasons people are drawn to Alec is, and I've told him this, Alec he reminds me of people from New Zealand and Australia. And I've said to you before that New Zealand and Australia, when you hang out with a lot of folks from there, you feel like you're at the best American frat party you've ever been to.
Right.
Where it's just as rowdy, it's just as, raunchy, but everyone feels cool and safe.
Mm-hmm.
And Alec has that vibe. I genuinely think that it could be hockey versus football, but I genuinely think it's actually that I'm 10 years older than him. I really think that might be. I'm like, this is hopeful, Drew. I've got a kid now. I think that decade of Brodom improved just enough to where, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like a bit more self-aware.
Right. So you're saying he was doing all that stuff 10 years after we were doing it. He was doing it like the 2010s, and it wasn't as toxically bro-y, is what you're saying?
I'm saying that it seems like the kids aren't worried about getting hazed by broomsticks up the butthole anymore, and they're not just totally disparaging every woman they've ever had sex with. Maybe I'm naive, though.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Well, that's the other thing, too, is like I remember I think we might have talked about this last time, so I don't want to rehash old shit, but like that whole, like the hazing, that level of stuff, like, it was not a thing in Cookeville. It's a small college. It wasn't like, well, I remember when there was a Rolling Stone article that came out about Ivy League fraternity hazing or whatever, and it got passed around. And we're all like, what the fuck? Like they were making pledges eat vomlets. They called them vomlets.
Oh, God, making, that word,
dude. I know, and so much, and of course, the sodomy mess and all kinds of crazy shit. But everybody in like Greek life at Tech or whatever was like that. What this shit is going on? This is fucking insane. Like it wasn't even remotely like that.
There was like one dude. God damn.
Like, yeah, we should check that out. Yeah, I've always liked to think that had it been like that, I would have just fucking left after like the first week. I don't think I could have been made to eat a vomlet. I don't think. That's just.
I literally couldn't do it. At Maryville, Greek life was illegal or whatever. It was like banned, but we had these secret societies that just operated like frats. And I got asked by all of them. There was like 4, I think, or 3. And I just was like, I've heard these stories. And then my friends started joining them, and they would like, I remember one of the hazes was like they dropped them off in the woods in the middle of winter in their boxers. And it was like, you got to find your way home. And then they came back and got them in an hour or something. But I was like,
listen,
that just sounded so stupid to me.
That they did do that to us, but we weren't in our underwear. But, and I'm not making this up, they sold it so poorly. Like I could hear them all laughing, having a good time and stuff. And I'm not just saying this to make me sound, however, this is literally the truth. As soon as they dropped us off and left or whatever, my like pledge brothers and stuff, I was like, you guys know they're fucking coming back, right? I was like, they're not. They're like, I was like, this is they're doing a thing. This is about like they're not leaving us out here. And we kind of just like stood around shooting the shit or whatever until they came back. And we're like, you pussy scared or whatever. But like we never were. And there were, things like, I don't know. I just always felt like I was pretty clued into what they were, the bullshit aspect of it or whatever. Right. And I don't think I'm being revisionist either. I always knew it's kind of all just sort of a game or whatever.
Right. I believe you. I felt that way and thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
But then, to be honest and fair, fast forward a few months and they're like, oh yeah, we had a party up in Gatlinburg with the Purples. That was one of the girl versions of it or whatever. And everyone got naked. It was kind of wild. I was like, oh man, maybe I should have stood in the woods.
Yeah. I mean, I've said before, it's so wild to me to even think back on it now because I'm just such an utterly, completely different person. And it's weird because I stand up in front of groups of strangers and do that all the time and travel all over the place. But like, I just think of myself at that age in my early 20s and how like insanely social I was. Because yeah, it was like that. We had all these everybody knew each other, relatively small college. And it's like, every bar I went to knew everybody that worked there. They all knew me, knew all the regulars, everything, and like loved it, loved that shit. Was out drinking every night. Don't miss that. Can't keep that up. But like, it's not just that. Like the first part, the like social part of it or whatever, genuinely to me at this age, and I've been this way for a while now. It's like it makes my blood curdle almost. Like I'm just such a homebody and introvert or whatever now that like I just can't believe I was ever like that. But I used to be a goddamn regular social butterfly, and I don't know. It's like is that like I say I'm an introvert now, but like is depression just done that to me, or was it like fatherhood? Fatherhood makes you stay home more, and it does change the way you feel about staying home. So it could just be that maybe.
I think it's what I'm about to say may be fatherhood, and it may be depression. I think it's hormones. I think when you're 20, the things coursing through your body make you more social. Not everybody, obviously, but I think that for a lot of people, you are. Dude, hormones are so wild, and I feel like we understand so little about them. Like openly, I think our leading experts are like, we barely scratched the surface on this stuff. But it's really wild how they dictate who and what you are. I mean, even with, if you want to get into, and I don't, not for an extended amount of time because I'm ignorant about it, but if you want to get into like gender and expressions of gender, it's like wild how much hormones actually make us who we are. And I have learned that just watching Andy change and not change at the same time with motherhood. Also, a few years ago, her hormones were not in a place they were supposed to be, and she had to like get on some meds and stuff. And then you hear about men's testosterone getting lower and all the stuff that happens. I just think that in good ways and in bad, you have sort of the strongest, other than puberty, amount of that shit going on when you're 21.
Right.
You're horny.
Yeah.
You're out there. You're out there, dog. You're out there trying to get laid, even if it's subconscious.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, hell, I can totally buy that. But yeah, it is wild to think. And it's like, I've told this story a million times, I know, but it's like the thing, Katie's uncle at our wedding, and it was a shotgun wedding. She was pregnant. Him saying the thing to me about like, you're going to, before long, you're going to be driving home. You're driving home and, your buddy's going to call you. He's like, hey, we're having our poker night. It's poker night over here with all the boys, come out, and you're like, no, I can't do it. I got to go home. And I was like, yeah, because that's what a man's supposed to do. That's how I respond. And he was like, no, that's what you're going to want to do. Right. And at 25, the baby, Bishop not being born yet, I in my head, I was like, what? I was like, I'm not going to want to do that. I was like, don't get me wrong. I'll do that because I understand that's what you're supposed to do. But like, I'm not going to want to do that. And then like, I just think about that all the time and think I always will, because it ended up being like so insanely true. And the fact that it is like a little pearl of wisdom that he shared or whatever, it indicates to me that it is something. And again, like you said, maybe it's the same thing, but like you do change, or at least you should. Not everyone does, which has always been wild to me, but you do change when you have kids, and maybe and that's part of it, I guess. The actual hormones change, and that's how you change or whatever. But it does change you, and you don't want to be. You want to be at home where they at. You don't want to be out with all the hoes and bros anymore or whatever. And that's just part of it. It's just I dove into that earlier in life or something. I don't know. But it's still wild to me to think about me then, because it's just so different.
And it might not be the only thing. And I don't think it would be fair for anyone to use it as an excuse. But if somebody told me on a biological level, if a guy had kids and then just didn't act right, like he just kept going out with the guys, and someone was like, yeah, his testosterone just didn't die down like everybody else's does. That's not an excuse, but I could buy it. I could be like, yeah, fuck, that happens. He still should have done the right thing, but yeah, happens.
Yeah. I don't know. It is weird. But yeah, everybody check Alec out. Very, very funny young man.
He's so funny. And for people who watched on YouTube, you might be thinking what everybody thinks, which is, how is someone this good looking, this funny? I don't know the answer to that. He's got the freaking world laid out in front of him right now, in my opinion. We're not super close. We were getting to know each other, and then I had to leave LA. But I haven't said this kind of thing in a long time, because I used to say it about friends in New York, and then turns out I didn't know what I was talking about. But that kid's going places. Go see Alec live. Especially if you're in the South, I know we got a lot of fans there. He mentioned those dates. I think he's got Greenville. He said Charlotte. You say Greensboro?
Yeah, I think so. But I said he might go to Atlanta, and then
Right.
But
But check out his website. He will be around for a while, and he will also apparently be the first president of the nation of Martha's Vineyard.
So that's exciting. Yeah, and if you wonder, if you want to check it out first, like I mentioned at the top of the interview, if you just go on YouTube and type in Alec Flynn, don't tell, I guess would work. You type that in. He's got like a 10 or 15-minute set on there that I wasn't kidding. I just randomly found before I even knew that Drew knew the kid, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So check that out.
It's so good.
Go see him. But with that said, Drew, I do have a plan, just so you know, before I do this. With that said, thank you all for listening. Go to TreCrowder.com and look at my dates. I'll be in I'm in Oklahoma City this weekend, and then next weekend I'll be in Buffalo and Pittsburgh, and then a bunch of places after that, including Virginia with Drew, and then Florida and whatnot. So go to TreCrowder.com and check it out. You got anything?
DrewMorganComedy.com and check it out. I will be in Virginia I'll be in Radford, Virginia, and then I'll be in Virginia Beach and Richmond with Trae. I'll be in Atlanta, Nashville, and Bristol, all in the month of June. I feel like I might have left one out, but it's all at DrewMorganComedy.com. Nashville, Bristol, Atlanta. I need you guys to show up and show out for me. Looking forward to seeing you guys out there.
All right. With that said, we wish the Cho well. I'm sure he's fine. He's probably at the dentist or some shit. Lord only knows. But he'll be back next week, we assume. But with that, thank you for listening. And, well, thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and excuse. Fart.